Well, welcome to the Morning Constitution. This is Joel Hawksley, your host, and we are at the Oxford Sports Pub and Secret Society. I thank you very much for joining us today. And I had a really good conversation last week about the First Amendment. I hope you took an opportunity to watch that episode. I got a little passionate because the First Amendment really, if we're not defending our right to say what we need to say, what we want to say, if we aren't allowed to have our own opinions, then what kind of country are we? So I'd like to start today with we, the people of the United States of America, we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the commonwealth, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our prosperity, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America. When you memorize it and every once in a while it catches your eye, you realize that when you memorize something, you bastardize it, I would say. So, wow. When you look at the Constitution, it's really just, hey, how's the government going to work? It's the roadmap on what everything's going to be. So it tells you, hey, you need to be 35 years old to be president. Hey, you need to be, 25 to be a congressman. You need to be 30 years old to be a senator. Now, I bring that up because I don't think we read the Constitution because we have these ancient human beings that are running our country right now. And the same people over and over again. So let's wake up, everybody. Let's start looking at younger demographics. Let's start involving everybody in this, and we'll have a government of the people and for the people. So there were 12 initial amendments that they wanted passed, and only 10 of them get passed, and that's the Bill of Rights. Now, the Bill of Rights was a big conversation in the first place because there were people that did not want to support the Constitution unless it had a Bill of Rights. A lot of the argument was the Bill of Rights, every state has a constitution and every state has a Bill of Rights. We don't need to build it in right now. We can build it in later. And that's why we have amendments. We can tackle this. So the First Amendment, was Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridge of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress or grievances. And I talked about Florida. I talked about Florida last week and how I think that it's doing us no justice to be in the situation where we're actually knowingly challenging the First Amendment with our legislation. So whether my state senator likes me or not, it won't make any difference. I'm not going to register to speak about him and other politicians and what they're doing. And this is why I have my broadcast, and I'm allowed to broadcast, and I'm allowed to say what I want to. And if you want to treat me like a lobbyist, you want to treat me like somebody that is second class to the Constitution, well, then you can take and bite me. Yes, bite me. Okay, so the Second Amendment, this one, okay, everybody knows I'm the conservative at Jay in Washington, and I truly believe in the Second Amendment. I don't understand what it is that the people up in the federal government don't get. Now, the wording is where the Democrats like to play their side, and it's just it works for them. So a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So the part that the Democrats want you to focus on is a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. And they say, well, you know, you and I aren't part of a militia, a well-regulated militia. So people go, oh, the NRA has so much authority here. They do so much. They become the enemy. So it's easy to attack the NRA. But we're going to look at the NRA a little bit later, because it is not the same as it was in the beginning, but it's still not the enemy. So the right of the people, this is the part you have to, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. I don't think there's anything that needs clarity. So the people, you and me, we have a right to keep and bear arms. And I'm not going to, it says the people. Now, when you go to Congress, the Constitution is your roadmap. Your amendments fix the path that you're on. So why do we have a Second Amendment might be the question. And it's not the Second Amendment because it's second to the First Amendment, because there was no order to these. There was no order to the Bill of Rights. Now, you'll have those that'll argue, well, the First Amendment is freedom of speech because it was the first, it's the most important. Well, it's not an important thing, because it's just as important that women have the right to vote. So that's not, that doesn't go, hey, well, the First Amendment needs to be changed because the First Amendment needs to be the most important. No, it's not the case. And it wasn't, because they had 12 of these things, and 11 of them have passed. There's only one that hasn't ever passed. And we can get to that later, because we're going to have to get to the last of the amendments when we finish this series. So we're going to talk about the right to bear arms. Now, does that give me the right? Now, here's what the President of the United States said. He basically said, I don't care about your, I don't care because I have nuclear weapons. So basically he says, I've got a bigger bomb than you. This is not an issue. You couldn't defend yourself. A gun's not going to defend you from your own government. And he's right. He's absolutely right. But in the time that this came, it's still a protection. You have the right to protect yourself. You have the right to your government cannot come in and take over everything. That was the whole point. They can't. Your soldiers cannot come in to your home and take your bedroom away from you and make you feed them and take care of them like the British did to the colonies. This is all these amendments were to address the grievances of the past, to tell everybody that if we create this government cannot be so powerful that it does what the British did. So you're basically telling me if I have a gun, it won't make a difference because you have, nukes, you have tanks. I know what you have. And that's National Guard. You have a National Guard. That's your well-regulated militia. But the second piece, comma, finishing the sentence, is the right for the people to bear arms. Now, whether you agree or you disagree, it's funny because I live in Orlando. Well, I live in Castleberry, but I live in Seminole County. I work in Orange County, and they're totally different places. They have truly showed this by the fact that Seminole County has part of Volusia County in the congressional district, and we've elected Corey Mills. So Representative Corey Mills doing an awesome job as far as I'm concerned. He's up in Washington doing the people's business. He's keeping his promises that he said he would do. That is what you expect from your congressman. Now, I'm going to respect Orange County because they put in Maxwell Frost. Now, Maxwell Frost recently got out of diapers because he's the youngest person. By Constitution, he's allowed to, but he's the youngest. You know, he's a new generation. He's a brand new generation. Welcome to the House of Representatives. But he's doing exactly what he said he was going to do. And he said he was going to be an advocate for, safety. He was going to tackle the gun problem, and he was going to deal with this. And me being a constitutionalist, I say, well, you're trying to get the wrong job. But he doesn't see it that way because he doesn't see the Constitution. He doesn't see this amendment as a restriction to what he wants to do. So he's going to go up to Washington. He's going to try to infringe on your rights. He has every right to do that. But he shouldn't be able to pass the legislation. And if he does, the Supreme Court will shoot it down. It will shoot it down. It will say that is not legal because the federal Constitution was amended to protect that right of the citizens. Now, what people don't realize is that it is your state. It is your state that has the right to regulate, put in rules to say, okay, well, we're not going to infringe your right. We're not going to infringe your right, but what we're going to do is we're going to restrict your right. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically say, you need to get a permit. You need to do this. You need to do that. So now we get these people that understand this. Hey, the state of New York and the state, and the city of New York, they have very strict gun laws. Chicago has the strictest gun laws in the entire country. And their gun violence is astronomical. Doesn't curb anything. It takes away, I don't have to fear anything because I can't, nobody can have a gun. Well, that's not true because the people that illegally have guns now make it more dangerous for you and your family. So this is an argument that will never, ever end. And we're a country that was built off of the revolution. We protected our country. We killed our own countrymen. We had a war against our own people. And yet this Second Amendment still stands today. It wasn't repealed. It wasn't changed. It was still in place. The federal government has no right to do what they're trying to do when they try to restrict your guns. Now, your state has certain rules. Again, they can do certain things. They can restrict. They can make sure that you have a license. They can make sure that you have rules. They can make sure that everything in the state is safe for them. But now we want to do constitutional carry. Because it's in the Constitution, you should have the right to go buy a gun absolutely free of any worry because it's in the Constitution. Just like I protect the First Amendment. You listened to me last week, I protect the First Amendment. The Second Amendment, I protect just as hard, but I don't believe that just because it's in the Constitution, it gives you the right to have one. There have to be restrictions, guidelines, because dangerous people with guns do dangerous things. Crazy is crazy. That's the wrong word. I get it. I'm not supposed to say crazy. I'm supposed to say mentally challenged, or all these politically correct. Listen, if you have a mental health disorder, if you have a mental health problem, you should probably not have a gun. Because as the argument I had with David in the past, the argument is they use statistics that have suicide in them. That's a crime. Okay, well, suicide's a crime that can't be punished because the person that committed the crime is dead. So please, you can't say, well, that was gun violence. Well, it wasn't violent. I mean, it was probably done in the peace, the quiet of a home where somebody had just given up all hope and decided the fastest and most efficient way to do it was a gun. Women don't use a gun. They don't use a gun. Most of the time, a woman is going to take pills, going to slice the wrist. And then again, we all know this by now. Once if you slice your wrist sideways, it's for attention. If you slice it like up and down, you're definitely on the way to, I don't want to be here anymore. So enough of that. The NRA, I'm going to finish with the NRA, because what the NRA was, an organization that taught gun safety. That's all they did. And they wanted to make sure that people were safe with their weapons. They wanted to make sure when you go through an NRA course, you learn to make sure you clear your weapon. You make sure you don't take a weapon from somebody. You don't take see, I can't say gun. It's funny because I was in the military. So a gun is a different thing. So if you hear me say weapon over and over again, it's because it's embedded in my mind, and I'll share that too. But yeah, this is 100% NRA teaches you gun safety. And they taught me at a young age. I was about 12 years old. I started shooting shooting rifle. I would go to the rifle range. I loved everything about what they taught me. They taught me how to shoot in the prone position. They teach you how to shoot in the sitting position. I don't know why anybody would want to sit and shoot a gun, but I guess if you're comfortable, that's okay. And then they teach you how to shoot standing up. I mean, but every time they teach you the safety, make sure that the weapon is always pointed in a safe direction. We also know that on New Year's Day that we aren't going to go outside and start shooting up in the sky because those bullets come down. That's because we're smarter than that. We're smarter than that because we went through an NRA program. We learned the safety of a gun. I mean, you want to give constitutional carry where anybody can have a weapon, and they don't have the NRA or they don't have these courses. Well, you should be afraid, because there's nobody that shoots themselves cleaning their gun that knows anything about gun safety. Now, you could have an accident like a bullet, burst because it has a primer, but even then it doesn't have any trajectory. So you need that barrel. So enough. I just want you to know, do not criticize the NRA for what they do good, but do criticize the NRA for how they spent their money and what they did in the past, because they became a greedy organization, because it's the right to bear arms. Democrats and Republicans that believe in it are members of the NRA to prove that they support that right. That's what I have for you today. This is my show. Thank you for tuning in. Please make sure that you get to our You Can't Make This Shit Up episode. So again, this is Joel Hawksley, and this was your morning Constitution.